I'm so sorry. I didn't know I was being overlooked. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Chess Books 54. I haven't done one of these for about a month, so you can tell the novelty's worn off. But what hasn't is the fact that it's nice to, well, you know, get in contact with people and say what you think. Now, drum roll, please. Here is a book which has come through the post to me. I do have a slight connection with this book, even before you've opened it, since Andrew was a contributor to British Chess Magazine when I was the editor. And here he is. There we are. I'm going to dedicate the whole of this little chinwag to his book, which is very unusual. And I say at the outset, if you buy and look through this book and play through the games, not all of the games, because I don't suppose you would, but a fair few of them, it will tell you a lot about the rough and tumble of English chess, and also give you some tips on unusual opening systems, which he has specialized in over the years. Here he is playing against Korchnoi at the London Classic. I think I'm right in saying that Mark Hannon also played against Korchnoi under similar conditions, but forgive me, I'm not certain if he was on the same tables as Andrew. Possibly not. Here he is again, and he writes a little introduction. There you go. I actually wrote this book about 20 years ago. Yes, he did, and I got in contact 20 years ago and said I wanted to buy a copy of it. Well, I put my money where my mouth is, and it's for sale for about £20 plus postage. The best thing to do is get in contact with Andrew Smith via the EC English Chess Forum and express an interest, and he'll come back to you and quote a price, particularly if you're abroad or you want special courier or something. When it arrived, it was double cling film and beautifully boxed. I mean, you couldn't have asked more of Amazon. Looking through the book is obviously I saw some articles which I remembered because they were reprints. He takes things really rather personally, and he mentions several incidents, shall we say, in the chess world, which not everybody would want to hear repeated. I think I knew just about all of them anyway, though I wasn't involved in any of them. It amused me that he got EOMC Teichmann's initials wrong. I won't put him in good favour with John Upham Willett. I also see here he played against my friend Ken Harmon. Well, and he mentions Ted Mason, who was initially mentioned to me. Well, I got to know who he was via the Myers opening bulletins, which Andrew also liked. Let's have a look at that game by Ken Harmon. It's game 24. Game against Ken Harmon, my close friend, my mentor for so many years. He mentions colleagues down the years. Andrew has been very much a London League player. I hope he will forgive me if I say that. Having lived in Hampshire all my life and not being able to play chess for so many years, I'm a bit out of touch. But I'm still looking for game 24. He commits a terrible solipsism, if that's the word, calling Michael McDonald Ross, he puts a capital D in the Donald bit. If Michael McDonald Ross saw that, he would go Ken Norman. So, Andrew, if you ever rewrite this book, another thing I would say is don't use underlining. It really does obscure the book, what you're trying to do, the fonts. Well, that's good. That's really good. So it says game 24 is against Kay Harmon. And when we get there, it's no less a personage than Ron Harmon, the late Ron Harmon. Ken is still alive, Andrew. So you got that wrong. And lives in the New Forest, and Ron passed away about 3 years ago. Both friends of mine. That's as may be, they would both forgive you. And this is, I'm sure, correctly attributed to Ron Harmon. I used to work for Cavendish for 2 or 3 years doing their newsletter with Ron. So that's how I know. Various games. As you can see, it's very nice quality paper, thick paper, hard covers. I gather Andrew got this published, printed on the continent. I'd be extremely interested to hear from him directly about costs and shipping and so forth for some of my projects. Game against Melanie Buckley, Mrs. Peter Wells. And again, it's a Mason variation. Some club games. Club clash between Ilford and Slough, where Andrew, after e4, e5, bishop c4, Andrew plays queen f6. No one is fooled into thinking that he's going for a full move checkmate, but he goes his own way in the openings, as was said of Nimzovich. He talks about the Bourne End Congress, which is hopefully still going to be resurrected post-COVID. I don't know. And he pays tribute to his mates, Norman Oliver here. And I also have a little story to add to this about Len Pickett. I was playing in the Charleston Congress very many years ago, 30 years ago or something. And there was a gentleman sitting there smoking his pipe, and outside as I was, not competing. And I asked him if he'd like to play a friendly game, and he acquiesced. And I played 3 bishop b5, the Rossolimo variation, against his Sicilian. And it was a sort of a sluggish draw. And I said to him that I'd got this idea out of a book by Len Pickett, and he said, "I am Pickett," and he didn't even laugh. So obviously in a friendly game, you wouldn't necessarily ask your opponents. You might ask, more likely to ask him his strength rather than his name. Anyway, I thought it was funny anyway. He didn't laugh that much, but it was nice to play someone as strong as that. Here's a game, I remember this when it was played. There's Smart. I think he beat Julian Hodgson. And he pays tribute to Richard O'Brien, whom he knew very well. I didn't know Richard as well as I would have liked, but we had many nice chats. And I also helped him with grading. And I bought books from him. And I miss him. You know, Richard was omnipresent. He also talks about Kevin Wicker, whom I gather is still alive, although I would have thought with respect he may not have been. He certainly was a bit of a druggie. Don't worry, Kevin. So am I a druggie. It's called chess. Here we are, Len Pickett, another member of Lewisham's chess club. Great personalities, controversial and loud. talks about the picket variation of the winnower, which is Queen G4, which is nothing new, but also 8-11 H4. He showed me this. Normally, I think white flicks the queen back to D3, as in so many winnowers, I suppose. Talbotnik, is it? Game against from the Melbourne Open. That's a long way to go to play chess. Game against SD Brown. Again, it's a French. Simon Brown used to play. I wonder if I can get in the little diagrams. They're not so little. Simon Brown was a very dedicated Frenchman, I remember. There we are. You'll see the H4 and the Rook H3 coming in, which looks very baroque. But believe you me, when you're playing against a top winnower player, you've got to be on your toes. He's talking about more stuff about the winnower. Very detailed write-up. But he does not blind you with science, nor does he give streams and streams of analysis, which you're not going to play over. Andrew thinks of his readers. The history of Slough Chess Club, Lady Haig. I'm sorry, I'm not local to them. I don't know if she was a patron. But she must have had some connection. Game against Simon Finn, whose fate it was to lose against Dick Heisman in that amazing game. And no, I don't have a copy of it, so don't worry. And there's a tribute to George Trent, who also knew, oh, champion, you want to play? And you say, no. He always liked to play friendly games. You want to play? You say, no, thank you. All right, we play. So we play. And, you know, I never really wanted to play. I think I played him quite a few times, actually. It said that he was a sort of little chess club within a club, and he was somewhat precluded, perhaps because his English, although perfectly adequate, was perhaps a little guttural. I think that's the word. And his son, Mike, was quite a strong player. I don't think he plays anymore, but maybe he's busy with his work or whatever. Here's a game against a friend of mine, Julian Way, and I remember this game being published at the time and all the vicissitudes that went on before it. Unfortunately, I'm old-fashioned. There's some criticism of Clive Frostick here, which I can't go into. I didn't know about this. It doesn't look like he's insulting him. Apparently, Clive started swearing sitting at the board. I found that incredibly unlikely to be true, but it must be, because Andrew wouldn't have written it. And there's also someone called Pratt who's called that, and it isn't me. And here's another game against Clive. I can't say the word, but he doesn't call him Frostick. I only met Clive Frostick, who's been in the chess world as long as me, recently on a Zoom talk for Camberley Chess Club. I'll just put in a little advert. If you go to Camberley Chess Club website, you can see talks by David Howe and Michael Adams, and there's one coming up. Richard Webb is going to do one on the Grunfeld, and there's even Colin Line talking about his postal games. I have very high regard for Colin, particularly when he explains stuff. Here is Andrew, the author of the magnum opus, playing against Sadler. And here he is playing against Bogdan Lalic. There we are. All the diagrams are coloured. All the moves are in algebraic notation. It's about 400 pages. Yes, just over 400, 410 or something. And here he is playing against no less a person, David Sedgwick. I don't know who the other guy is, actually. It might be someone I played at our meetings. First paperback edition. Well, this isn't a paperback edition. Oh, it's Andrew himself. Playing against David Sedgwick. Well, many games against his fellow clubmates. For some reason, he thinks that Jim Plaskett is J.M. Plaskett. He isn't. He's H.J. Plaskett. And he also thinks that 1B6 is Basman's opening. Well, it's not. It's named after Reverend Owen, isn't it? He knows that. Andrew Smith knows that. It isn't me sitting here. His favourite books are Bobby Fischer versus the Rest of the World by Brad Darash, The Inner Game, Tal since 1960 by Cousins, Selected Masterpieces, Svetlana Gligorich, The Art of Checkmate, Renaud and Kahn, Blunders and Brilliances, My 60 Memorable Games by Bobby Fischer, Chess Master versus Chess Amateur, Chess for Tigers, and The Chess Companion. I think that this list is very heavily biased towards books Andrew read many years ago. And I can't blame him for that for a second, because he is a man that thinks very much independently for himself. After all, this is an independent publication, isn't it? I would have said that they're all goodish books. Of course they are. Of course they are. But you might find there isn't an endgame book there. Or if there is, I can't spot it. So perhaps that is needed at some stage or other. He's talking about King's Gambit. And he transposes from birds from, and then knight c3. So I know Danny King wrote about that in Nightmare, and I hope very much that Andrew has read Nightmare, and if he hasn't, well, the joy will be all his. Again, if you go to the Camberley website, which I recommended, Nigel Povar gave a talk, one of the many talks I've attended recently, on endings, and it was really, really terrific. Game here against Norman Lazenby, and one against Felix Kwiatkowski. And one against Simon Spivak, and so it goes on and on. So all of them annotated, and none of the annotations will preclude anybody that is comparatively new to chess, and he's not setting himself up to be, have the answers to all the problems. He doesn't. He is just simply jumping in and swimming. And here he is playing against Brian Ely, and sitting next to Alan Hanrack. Well, there's lots of players here. Graham Buckley, David Sands, a game against Jim Plaskett. That's not how you spell pelican, Andrew Smith. So spelling corrections 3 times each. The trauma of trying to mate with knight and bishop. I had to do this in a county match once. My opponent cheated. I will not go into the details, but he did. And I had to try and do it, and knowingly I couldn't do it. So I'm not sure if Stuart Knox was in the room, because I've done bishop versus knight training with him in the days of yore. Needless to say, he learnt a lot, and I tried to absorb what I could, but I'm afraid I didn't manage it. Game against Jonathan Rogers with this centre game. So e4, e5, d4, e takes d4, and then queen takes d4, which is a great favourite of Andrew Smith's. Here he's playing against Heather Lang, and quotes the Morosevich game, which was played at Lloyds Bank when Morosevich scored something like 9 out of 10 or something. And that I think he played it against Mark Hebden. Mark would have known the line, I'm sure. There's no question he would have done. He's a total professional. He talks about his disputes with various people, some of whom are given nicknames, and he talks about his games in the Philidor and Queen H5, the Haldane attack, which against the classical French, which the Steinitz variation of pushing the pawn on, not playing bishop g5, and then the knight goes from f6 to d7, and then you whip your queen out to h5 for a look round. As a Frenchman myself, I don't think I would fear that, but I'd welcome playing against it. And Andrew certainly sells it to you. He does not give up on his opening systems any more than he gives up on his friends. And as a result of that, I think he comes through very strongly as a man of principle. Game against Tony Coston from 1986. And he won a nice prize. It was nice to win a prize, isn't it? Don't you think? Probably your mother would like the fact that you've got a cup or something. He's got a cup for chess. The Torbay Torquay Gambit. 6f4 against the Najdorf. Can't see what's so wonderful about that. I don't mean it's a bad move. I mean it's not particularly original. Well, Andrew's book now has been, here he is on the back, and here he is on the front. I recommend this book with all its faults, well, yeah, mistakes, all of which I forgive him for. This has been Chess Books 54. I'm James Pratt. Get Andrew's book and have a good look through. Thank you very much.